Hi. So I wanted to continue on doing this CI related stuff today with two specific things. In particular, I wanted to talk about scheduled builds, and then after we talk about scheduled builds, I also wanted to talk about getting automatic dependency bumping happening, because the point of this series is that we want to take a repository and we just want to automate the hell out of all the little toil and tidbits that don't actually matter. So I have the thought that it might be cool to show you how to make a bot. And GitHub has provided this thing called Probot now, where you write a very simple Node.js application and you use this sort of DSL that they have. You go through some steps to set it up, and then boom, you're good. You've got a bot. And it can do a whole bunch of stuff, up to you what it will do. And I thought that might be cool to kind of show you an example of how you could write your own dependabot. Dependabot is a company that was purchased by GitHub that does automatic dependency updates. Well, it lodges pull requests, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it on for our project. And these are some of my other projects I have. So I go here. And what this is going to do is it's going to, the core is actually auditable. So if you go dependabot core or something, yeah. This is the core logic behind how it works. So if you're curious, or if you want me to have a look at this one day, we can do that. That might be cool. I imagine that the way that this is working, because it's language dependent, right? This is actually kind of cool because it says GitHub or GitLab. We fetch some files, we parse the files, we check for updates across PyPy or NPM or whatever, and then we update this file. And then the other stuff that it does is it will also check for updates around it will check for updates and lodge a PR, basically. Security updates might one day have an automatic thing, and I want to give you an example of how this might work. So let's actually add a dependency. Okay. Let's go up one. We'll go to crates.io. And let's just I don't know what we want to pick. Something simple, small vec. Right. Adjust my keyboard a little bit. Small vec. And I'm going to be a bit cheeky here. Oops. By picking a version that's older and then installing that so we get a lock file. So go to split screen. Here. Cargo. Update. Cargo check. Should do it for us, actually. There. So, I don't know why that wasn't updated. This. Oh, that's a cargo lock. My bad. That's my bad. So, we want to go toml. And then down here, right. Get rid of this. Cool. Cargo check. So that's going to pull down the registry information. And we've pinned this precisely to version 0619. We can confirm that by going to the log file. And you'll see here that small vec is pinned. It actually bumped it to this version. So I think what we want to do to try to get this to work, let's go to 5. Right. Yeah. I'll go check. Yep. Alright. Yep. AM. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get a scenario where I can get dependabot to come in and do a bump update. I might have to be a little bit cheekier than that, but you could technically build your own version of this, right? Very easily, if you know the workflow. Dependabot eases out a lot of this, and since GitHub has it now, it's not really that big of a deal. So I'm going to actually try to say 6, but I'm going to do it precisely at 9. We're going to update the log file again, just blow it away. So 9 is not a version that I can use, surprisingly. Odd. Okay, well, let's go back up and we'll go to smallvec. And I'm going to look at the releases page. We're going to see 069 and 068. Yeah. Let's try that. Smallvec. How? What? Oh, right. Okay. Yep. That makes sense. What? Okay, well, this is a bit of a distraction, but one we will get over. I specifically want a version that will help me just get this into shape so that dependabot will go, oh, okay, yeah, there's definitely an update I can lodge. And I want to show you this because basically with the workflow with dependabot is that you'll occasionally get PRs from dependabot. You'll have the CI run, the CI will pass or it'll fail or maybe something will happen, and then you'll tell dependabot, great, merge it in. You can even rig up something that will automatically merge those. There are services like Mergify and other GitHub actions. I was looking before I started this video. Automatic pull request. A bunch of these different ones. Oops, off by 1. Automatically rebase a VR, that's handy. Auto approve. So yeah, here's this rebase one. This would be super handy for me. This auto, because I really aggressively rebase my branches. Bar master. And this one's actually handy in the context of dependabot because when you approve a PR, dependabot takes that as, oh, okay, I can go ahead and merge this, right? If and only if CI has gone green. So we might set that up, but I really just want an example to show you dependabot working in action, and then I wanted to talk about cron expressions, and then with cron expressions comes setting up some scheduled builds. And then maybe another day we'll use probot to build a bot just for something else, to give you The nice thing about having a bot is that it's really just this scriptable thing that you have reacting to events, right? So somebody makes an issue on your pull request, or something happens on an issue. Maybe a particular thing happens on a branch or on somebody's PR, and you want something to happen. You can automate it, right? And basically you have all of these things at your disposal that will let you do that. Another day we'll talk about things like caching and creating releases and stuff, and that's handy. But my point about doing this dependabot stuff is that having a scheduled build probably doesn't make sense to you, right? Off the cusp. But if you have something that's consistently merging in changes, right? Then a workflow that creates releases, that is merging in changes for updates and stuff. Maybe it's pushing off an artifact of your code someplace. That gives you two nice things. We talked about last video how the nice thing that it gives you is this sort of peace of mind that your project builds, right? Something hasn't happened where it won't build, and having this constant stream of dependency updates means that you won't have to come back and wrestle with that. You can just dive straight in. The other thing that it does that's nice is now you've built in this capacity, whether it's like I'm pushing Docker images to Docker Hub or ECR, which is Amazon's offering, or something, right? Some repository. Then if Docker Hub goes down or some other place goes down, then I have some backups, right? I have some redundancy built in. I have some snapshots. If, a particular strain of dependency updates has ruined the project in some way, or changes has ruined the project in some way, you do have a tarball of your code a little ways back, right? Or maybe even somebody blows away the repository or messes up master or something like that. You have a snapshot of everything at that point in time, right? So there are really good uses for this as a constant thing, but we won't talk about releases today. We're going to just talk about, let me close some of these tabs so we can focus a bit. Just getting some of this stuff to work. So first, we need a log file that has, we don't want to use, I really wonder if I'm going to be able to do this. So, let me try going here, cargo check, and I'm going to try to munge this in such a way, update -p small that, what was it, 068. Okay, there is a way here, and cargo update help, where's -p, p package spec, if spec is given, then a conservative update of the log file will be performed. If precise is specified, then aggressive must not also be specified. So let's do cargo update precise small vet. And what is the shape of this spec? I'm pretty sure it's like this, 0, 6, 8. Yep, there we go. And if we, let's just cat this log file, you'll see, oh man, alright, so let's try that again. I want to blow away this log file. So then, yep. Now it keeps wanting to install 0610 precisely, which is a bit frustrating because I really wanted to give you an example of it. If I wanted to probably show dependabot in its glory, I could have picked a JavaScript project that will probably be updated every single day. How can I do this? How can I show this? Well, okay, let me go back. We'll stash these changes. We'll merge this in, right? Then what we're gonna do, okay, is we're not gonna change the log file. All right. Just gonna go here. I'm gonna say 06. And we're just gonna include that, right? Oh, wait, oops. So we've recreated this. So, whoops. It's a classic thing I wrestled with last time. There you go. So we'll just open this up again. Right, this does that. Now we're gonna go to dependabot. We're gonna say, look at these options. It's fine to have dependabot running daily. I'd say you could set it weekly or monthly depending upon maybe your CI is a bit expensive. You can do things here like add extra labels or assignees or reviewers. By default, dependabots have a dependabot tag on them as a way of identifying them, and they're also raised by the dependabot bot. This is the directory where it will run its commands to figure out if there are updates. And there's also a target branch you might want to have it feed into. So you can tell it, like, I only want security updates, I only want lock file updates, and maybe you want everything, right? So there's nothing for us to change. We can ask it again to have a look, and if we're lucky, it will do something. If it doesn't, I can show this next time, which is a bit of a bummer, but yeah. It should notice, right, that I have a lock file, which it should be basing itself on, with a particular version that was 05, and that my cargo toml, which is my actual specification of what dependencies and stuff I want. This, oh, did I not merge that through? Okay, well, we might have to do that one more time. Yeah, let's try that again. Let's ask one more time. That's 60 seconds ago. There we go. Cool. Close this crates, small vec, etc. So maybe we'll get lucky. In the meantime, GitHub Actions workflows. Now I had a look to see how to do some things with regard to caching. There are limitations currently with GitHub Actions where you can upload and download artifacts in a single pipeline. So that's kind of happy if there are, that's kind of cool if you have individual steps to your jobs, or individual jobs where you want to share stuff created in each of those things, but it only works for that single execution. It doesn't work across multiple of them. And with caching, what you want to do is have some mechanism where you know the actual caching that's going on is going to give you, dependencies that are relevant to that, build, right? And I can give an example of how this is roughly set up on some projects another day. So I don't know if we're going to get dependabot here. Oh, perfect. Security. And it's actually marked as security and dependencies. This is perfect. So you'll get things like this, right? And this is kind of handy because it says security. So with stuff like the automatic, pull request merging action, I can say, well, I don't really know about dependencies being automatically merged. I might want to audit them by looking at release notes and stuff. But I do want anything that says security on it to be bumped, to be automatically merged in. So that's one way we can do it, right? So GitHub Actions automatic pull request merge. Let's see if I can find this. We're back here again. Pull requests. Automatically rebase a PR. Auto approve. Yeah, here we go. And this one actually has dependabot in mind, right? Dependabot bot, dependabot preview bot. So ours says dependabot preview. So, yeah, we can have another GitHub action in our workflow to do this. So just for demonstration's sake, honestly, I would probably, take a look at this and then either from mail or whatever, go dependabot merge. That's how I would tend to do it. But just to kind of show you ideas around and sort of the ethos around automation, we're going to actually set up this one. So back here, I want to go to the GitHub workflows. There's this Rust one, which is the one we need to kind of munge a bit maybe today with the scheduled stuff. But we'll also set up this other one, which is basically the step that we were talking about, right? So git checkout B action topic auto approve action. I'm gonna copy the Rust one. So GitHub workflows Rust, and we're gonna copy that to auto approve. Yeah. Cool. So let's go open that. And then down here, we're gonna paste what we had. So it uses our dependabot, our GitHub token, which is fine. The GitHub token secret must be provided as the GitHub token input for the action to work. Use v2.00 or later, as v1 was designed for the initial GitHub Actions beta and no longer works. So we also want this step in here, which is this if statement, is what they're mentioning. Oopsie. There you go. And this is going to possibly be broken. Automatically approve GitHub So this is on pull request, right? So we're not going to see this in action today. Actually, we might see it in action today if I am cheeky about it. Because what I can do is I can close GitHub, the dependabot's PR. There is a way to close it and say never create this. And that may or may not run it. I'm not sure. If we go to the GitHub Actions, what is it? Triggers. Go to the docs. Let's see here. Create, delete, deployment status, fork. Golem, what's that? Issue comments, issues, label, member. So label. The label event occurs. Right. Pull request review. Right. Push, release, status. Now, is there an open thing? Open. Reopened. Right, that's for issues. Milestone. Project. Pull request. So yeah, if we just say pull request, we get all of these. We get opened, we get reopened. Cool, so that's good. And I want to look at this thing and see how it ran. So see, this didn't run because it didn't actually, didn't kick off. So one thing that we have to do is we might have to expose. Okay, well, let's get this merged. Let's go. So GitHub secrets actions. We might have to add virtual environments secrets. Here we go. So it says you go to your secrets, and in the left sidebar there's a secrets thing. Okay. So here I'm going to say at dependabot reopen. Okay. So close pull request at dependabot reopen. Now I want to see, there we go, this is going through. Let's see if this works. Oh, build. We want to rename that actually. But it's not a big deal. We don't care about what it's named. And awesome. That should approve the changes. And then dependabot should accept that as being good. So it's rebasing this PR. Odd. Okay. Well, I guess in a second we'll see if that approval will actually make a difference. If it doesn't, the other thing we can do is we can try to find one that will comment. So yeah, this got force push by dependabot. This thing is going to run again, so we'll do another approval. And dependabot is going to wait for all of these to turn green. Right, I think that's how it works. So, I don't know how long we've taken. I'm guessing maybe 30 minutes or so, but the last thing I wanted to do was kind of get some scheduled builds in since this is working, sort of. Okay, well, it's sort of doing its thing. Next time we'll have to kind of clean it up a bit. I don't want to waste too much time trying to jiggle this about. We'll get it to work in the next one. But the gist is that then I can say, if I can find GitHub action comments on, let's see here, comment. Well, there's this one that leaves a comment on a PR. And we can see what it's actually doing by the entry point. Making a comment. Yeah, if we can actually probably write one ourselves just to do this. And we can probably clone this guy's one, right? And all we gotta do, where is it? I'm guessing this is built out of TS, so gets the GitHub token, gets the PR, gets the GitHub client, creating, approving review for pull request number, creates a review. So this is client pulls create review. So this GitHub client thing we can check out. Wraps actions toolkit into an action for common GitHub automations. This is pretty neat. Entry point. So we saw pull, right? We want, here we go, perfect. This is what we want to fork it as. We're gonna fork this thing, okay? We're gonna do this comment thing instead of this create review. So client, client do comment, and then we're going to give it the details in order to do a comment, and the comment is going to be that dependabot merge. Cool. And that means that we can actually use an action that's our own. Circle CI has something like this called orbs, which is sort of like actions. There's also some other providings. Really, if you want to think about this, it's just steps you would be putting into whatever's at play. But it depends on APIs, right? Like, if you're interacting with GitHub or any other service, you have to deal with their interface, with their API that they're providing. So it's nice that GitHub actually gives you all of this functionality out of the box to do this stuff. Yeah, so I'm going to leave those up for now. We've got dependabot watching stuff on this. And now that we have automatic dependencies being added to this project, the next thing for us to do is to set up a scheduled build. So, on schedule. This is all we have to do, right? Cool, so really quickly, this is a super short introduction to cron. There are many different ways to specify recurring scheduled tasks, but the most classic, kind of commonly shared one that you'll see in Kubernetes and its scheduler, you'll see it in FreeBSD, OpenBSD, NetBSD, Linux, all sorts of different what they call unices, which is the kind of family of kernels that came out of Unix, or came off of Unix. The gist is that there is a standard for this cron program that has a syntax or an expression language, right? And it's canonical. Now, not all crons are the same, but there is a POSIX standard for crons. POSIX is just this open groups standard, and it's a way to try to get many of these different kernels or operating systems, right? It's not quite an operating system. An operating system is the whole package. But it's to try to get these whole things to have a canonical representation or implementation so that it's portable, right? you can put a cron expression on a free BSD machine, and if it's POSIX compliant, it will work on, hopefully, on a Linux box that is purportedly POSIX compliant. The way that it works is you give this syntax, and there are some things like this, like this one's quite good, I find. It is one that actually will detect non-standard expressions. And we really just want this to be like, I want you to do this once a day at midnight. And this should tell us if it's in UTC. It is in UTC. I won't go into UTC since I already wasted a little bit of time talking about OpenGroot and POSIX. I'll talk about it another day. But the gist behind this is the stars mean every. So if I said this, you'll see that this cron tab expression thing is telling me that it's like, do it every single minute of every single day, right? Do it every single minute. That's the lowest granularity of cron, right? Is a minute. But what we want is, we want daily updates. So we can say, do this at midnight on Mondays. So that's weekly, right? So every single Monday rolls around and this thing's gonna run. So that's why you can do stuff like this, although it's not quite standard. Now, when you want to run scheduling times is based upon some thoughts around, like, how many build minutes do you get either free or do you pay for from your CI? Maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe you're paying for that infrastructure and it's totally not an issue. I don't have to worry about that with BuildKite, for example. In this particular case, I want this to build weekly, right? So what we're going to do is the one that we had. We're going to say 0, 0, all days all month, 1 day a week. So at midnight on Mondays. Okay, so that's weekly. This is non-standard, so that's on Sundays. So we could actually redo that, right? So 0, 0, star, star, 0. It starts at 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pop down here, check out master again with our changes. We're going to go to our Rust workflow. Yep. And on this on thing, we're going to say, yeah, I want it on pushes. Right, but I also want it on, so yeah, there's schedule, and this is what we have to write. But how do I do multiple of them? So since this is YAML, my guess is we do, I think these are keys. And what we want is this guy. So we're going to take this, go down, paste that, scooch this over by 1. Yeah, that's a really good point. The star is a special character in YAML, so you have to quote the string. That's for another day to talk about. And yeah, what we're going to do is replace that string with what we had here, right? And we're good. So let's just see if topic schedule. Schedule weekly builds. Now, let's just see if it even accepts that. No, it doesn't. It doesn't like that at all. Mapping values are not allowed in this context. Close this. And go back here. Mapping values are not allowed in this context. So that was 3, right? This one. Yeah. So I think what we gotta do multiple triggers GitHub actions is what we're gonna look up. I just need an example. Here we go, multiple things. So yeah, we've got this array syntax, and in YAML you can sort of, the duplicate of this array syntax is this thing, right? And white space matters. So actually I'm going to go equal sign just to make sure that everything is being rendered appropriately. And we want to make sure that the schedule build that we had, what was this? We want to just make sure that, yeah, that looks right. There you go. Still failing. Invalid type for on. Alright, so it may not accept this syntax. And the schedule thing, just so I'm not crazy. What was that? Yep, I had a little thing there. So yeah, this is a bit annoying, isn't it, right? Because we really want multiple ones. Or was it more than one, right? There you go. We wanted more than one. But the other one that we want to include super annoying. So I'm gonna fall back to something which is that we can write this like JSON. In fact, we can use JSON. So this, right, is an object. This is the key name. And this is the inner array that has the stuff that we're referencing. This is part of the pain of doing infrastructure or CI stuff, is that there's a lot of kind of like, oh, is this actually working? When you do this sort of thing, it actually helps that if you have a lot of other steps going on, instead of waiting for them to finish and kind of coming to what you want, you can rip everything out and just let what you specifically want to run, unless there is some dependency going on. Close some of these. So we're still not quite what we want to be. So I think what we want to do is maybe get rid of this push one get rid of these guys again and do that. Right. And we'll structure some of the text back the way we like. So what I'm trying to do here now is get the scheduled thing to just parse correctly, and then we'll figure out how to get the push trigger back into play. If I can get the scheduled ones working, then I can easily find out a way to get the other one to go. So, let's do this. Copy this guy. Looks fine. Don't need that. This looks exactly like what I had. What's different is that I got that space. No idea. I don't care either. I just want one to work, and then once I've got one that works, I can chuck back in my push event again. Yeah, see, so now it's missing. Alright. That means it parsed correctly. So now we can say push, and if we really want to, we can turn that into an array. That's the syntax to turn that into an array. Invalid type for on, huh? It doesn't like that it's an array. That's really interesting. Even though the documentation tells us that it's totally cool to do that. There's a few other things we could try. Right, we could try saying push here with a thing, and then go down here and put that. That's one option. I don't know how much of a viable option that is. We can just try it. I'm sensitive about wasting any more time because I think I've already spent a fair bit here, but really the core of it is if we get just enough of the scheduling stuff working, we can come back and get this other one working as well, right? We don't want to necessarily turn off scheduled builds. I mean, we don't want to turn off the, oh, is this still broken? Yep, it's still broken. Yeah, the last thing I can try, right, to get this to work is that. That's one way. But that seems weird to me because then we overwrite what this key is one after. I'll have to find an example where somebody's doing this. The alternative is we can, right, so let's copy that guy and we'll say copy GitHub workflows Rust, and we'll call this one weekly. Right? So then in the original one, we can just say push. Right? And the weekly one can have the cron. Cool. Let's end it there. This way is not ideal because if the weekly scheduled thing changes in any effect from, we want those to be tied together, right? We want when the weekly build to run to be the exact same thing as when somebody pushes to a PR. I will have to find an example if somebody using a GitHub action that has both. It probably is just because my YAML foo is not that fantastic right now and I'm not doing something obviously wrong. But, you know, this gives us a really good basis of just kind of pushing a little bit more to automate things around the repository without worrying too much about the actual code itself. So you'll see that all this will go through. We're gonna merge this PR and then, yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Let's get this dopamine kick from clicking this green button. Boom. Done. And if we refresh, you'll see that the history is just one commit. Yeah. Awesome. I'll see you guys next time. See you later.